Annika and Rich, thank you for joining us at the 11th Annual Bentonville Film Festival. We're so happy to have you here. For those who haven't had the opportunity to see Adult Children yet, what would you like them to know about the piece?
Start with where it came from.
Sure. This is a story about family. It is very loosely based on my family. And it's the story of, it's basically a coming-of-age story. It's a 17-year-old girl struggling to figure out who she is, can't even think of 3 words to describe herself for her college essay. And she gets this rare opportunity to spend the summer with her 3 significantly older half-siblings. And she's hoping that the summer will kind of illuminate adulthood for her. And of course, they don't have the answers she's looking for. We like to think of it as kind of a throwback to those John Hughes movies that we all grew up loving. And it's really a love story between siblings that love each other deeply but don't like each other most of the time, which I think we all know something about.
And with this film, Rich, you've taken on the hat of director, but previously you've been doing cinematography. Did you find yourself having to get out of the cinematographer head to do the director?
Well, actually, I started as an editor. That was the first thing I kind of did, and I never really was a shooter. I started music videos as a director, and so from editing kind of other people's projects, kind of quickly moved into music videos, and I did hip hop and rock videos and all sorts of things for a long time in the heyday of that world, and did some commercials, did that kind of thing, and then moved into episodic television.
And the two of you have your own production company called Let's Try One. Love the name. What's the story behind the name?
Well, it's actually, I mean, talking about making movies with family, it's actually us and my parents. When we were trying to get our first feature made, my parents wanted to support in some way, and they said, well, you know, why don't we start a little production company and we can help you guys, you know, here and there through the process. And we were like, what do we name it? What do we name it? And they were like, well, what about Let's Try One? And I was like, why? And my dad said, well, because before we had you, I'm the oldest of 4, we were really on the fence about having kids, and you know, one day we just said, you know, let's try one. So it's really where I came from, and now it's where our movies come from.
And with this film, I do have to say, and I'm going to be spoiler free, but there's a scene where Dahlia is lying next to her younger sister, and she makes a quote about perfection in human form. It gave me healing I didn't know I needed. What inspired that? I mean, it's just this powerful moment.
Oh, I really love that touched you. So this is my family dynamic. There's 3 of us that were born very close together, and then we have this much younger 4th sibling. And I've always thought that she was in some ways like the wisest of all of us, because she had very different parenting from the same parents, but also the youngest, because she was also like fully in her childhood. And I think the thing she struggled with the most was like wanting to be one of us, wanting to be an adult, wanting to do it all right. And there is something about like shaking that loose and saying like life is a mess, but the mess is where you find all the beauty. And so, yeah, I guess I was trying to create the moment, not that it was one moment in our lives, but kind of create a moment out of what I thought was a really profound chapter for her. And sort of, I think the rest of us grew up maybe understanding more of the mess because life was just a bit messier. So that was that moment for me.
Great.
And then with this story, you know, it's more realistic of what real world life is like rather than what's been portrayed for years, how mass media wants families to look. Mm-hmm. What made you decide to make that jump to say, you know, no, we're going to go to this more true to life?
I want you to answer things too, but I'll
We're married, and in our vows, she promised to do all the public speaking.
Oh, that is not true. That is not true, but I love that idea.
That'll be in the renewal.
That's right. You know, sometimes I think the reason to write things that are personal is because you're not afraid to write the truth. And I think when we try to like adopt other people's stories and world build. We're too precious about other people's stories, and this is very much based on my family. So I wasn't trying to dress it up. I wasn't trying to make it feel any less chaotic than the reality is. We have a big Jewish family where everybody has big opinions. We are in conflict a lot, but I think I always trusted, and I think Rich did a beautiful job of capturing this, and the actors were phenomenal in capturing this as well, is this underpinning of love. Like, the only way you can be this brutally honest with anybody is because you know they love you unconditionally. And so I was never worried that we were going to miss that part, and I don't think you were either.
No, I don't think so.
And then our cast was so instantly bonded to each other that I think we all felt like, oh, this is going to work.
Yeah, as soon as that table read kind of happened, we were...
Yeah, let them go for the jugular because we know that they really love each other.
And with the two of you being married, I mean, I'm a child of parents who've been high school sweethearts, married after college. They're still together today. I've seen what it takes. But the two of you know each other so well. How do you encourage her to sit down and write?
Wow, this is a great story. So this is our second feature together, and so when we met, Annika was dabbling in writing, and she kind of never finished anything. I never finished anything. I think that's fair to say, right? You got to the halfway point, and you're like, oh, where does it go?
Very accurate.
Yeah, and so I got a chance to read. I write quite a bit too, and I know what good writing is, and I asked to read some of her stuff, and I was like, well, this stuff's really good. You should finish it, and you kind of hemmed and hawed. You're like, well, I tried, or whatever. And at this point, we were living together, and Annika likes to decorate, and I'm the labor, and we paint a lot of walls over and over and over again until the color's right. And I think we were at Canary Yellow, and we both knew it was hideous on this one wall, and she wanted me to repaint it. I said, you have to finish the script, and then I'll repaint it. And I was betting against because I didn't want to repaint, but she finished it, and it was fantastic, and I think that kind of opened the floodgates a little bit for you. Is that right?
Yeah, yes, it is actually, that is the true story of how I finished my first feature, and then that feature very quickly got made, and it was sort of a fantasy, like, oh, not only am I going to write it, we're going to make it, and you're going to direct it, and we're going to produce it together. And it just felt like kind of a fantasy. Like I was an actor forever, and every actor I knew was walking around with a script they said they were going to make someday. And I didn't want to be just one more person doing that. So I was like, no, we're really going to do this. And within like 6 months of finishing that script, Angie Gaffney, our producing partner, who had worked with on another project, had read it, given it to the Chicago Media Angels, who became our executive producers, and fully financed the entire thing. So we were on set shooting within 6 months. And I've sort of felt at that point like the universe had I was out of excuses to not write. Like they were just saying like, hey, this door is open, you should really walk through it. And of course, Rich had been saying that to me forever. And so I kind of came back from that trip, and the second part of this supportive marriage story is at that point I was like, I need to write more because I can't be a writer with one feature. I mean, I need proof that I can do this, across genres, all the things. And so Rich said, I will cover our bills. I will take care of all, which, we're both artists. That is a big thing to say. And he said, just write like it's your job. And this is an investment. I'm investing in our future. So just write. And sure enough, it changed our lives.
Yeah.
What is the one piece of advice you wish you knew going into your second film? You didn't know it in your first, found it out in your second, but you wish you had known before.
Ooh, second. Man, that is a tough question.
That is a tough question. That's a tough question. I think that, like, if I was going to make another film, like things that I would want to do differently. Well, here's an interesting thing. Something we did on our first film that we didn't do in our second film that I would definitely want to do on our third film, because I didn't realize how significant it had been, is that in our first film, very small, scrappy we gathered the cast together every Sunday before starting the next week's shoot, and we read through all the scenes coming up that week. And so we'd done a table read, and we kind of had a sense of, you know, the progression and all of that. But we had this like weekly reminder, this like reset as a team, like the team sport reset.
And it wasn't like a rehearsal. It was more of like, let's just get on the same page. It was talking about the beats. It was casual.
Yeah. And like this, our cast in Adult Children is so freaking brilliant. Nobody needed that, but I missed it. And I don't know if you feel the same way, but I missed it.
Yeah.
Like I missed the weekly touching base. I'm like, you talk. Touching base at a time when like you're not on the clock and you're not losing your light and you're not, all the things that are so stressful and don't allow for the in-between moments while you're filming. I really missed having that. So that's not exactly answering your question. But
I have a not exactly answering your question too. I would just say going from the first film to the second film. The first film I edited, so I love to edit. I feel like a lot of my style comes from editing, and we had a great time cutting the first film.
We cut it in
our tiny little apartment, and the lead actress was over my shoulder. How's it looking? On my little laptop, and it was great. But I was very close to the footage, you know, and I didn't have that kind of step away kind of thing. And what I did going into the second one is I hired somebody I'd worked with before, a dear friend, Ken Mao, I worked with the music videos forever. And he was wanting to get into features, and he didn't really have one under his belt, and so it was really exciting for him. And he was also the kind of guy, like, we just don't BS each other. It's just, he's going to tell me, like, dude, you got to take this out, or hey, this is the way it should be, and he really would challenge me, because I can be pretty like, this is what I think, and I'm pretty assertive about it. And it was great to have him. You know, the way the movie opens now wasn't the original opening. There's a scene we totally cut out and we totally were in love with for many reasons, and it was one of the last scenes we cut, and it was the best thing we could have done, honestly. But it was hard. It was a hard one, and that's just one example of him being able to stand back and look at the footage objectively and say, you don't need this. This should go, and it was great. And so I like that.
Going forward into the future and things like that, I did find an article where you were quoted as saying, with your films, you look for unique voices who root their work in the ugliest, funniest, most impossible to ignore truth. And I thought that was a fantastic quote. That's kind of, it was your inspiration, your how you think things. What does the future hold for the Let's Make One Productions?
Yeah, as I've written more and more, and I've tried to sort of focus on like what are the stories not only that I want to tell, but where do I think I fit in with these? You know, we're in a giant pool of wildly talented people, and why do I belong here? And what do I have to say that's you know, whether it's not or not, it's unique, authentic. I just love writing about women in transition. So whether that is puberty, whether that is marriage, whether that is childbirth, whether that is menopause, I find my scripts are constantly circling a transition point for women. So that is often messy and ugly and all the things, which is, I think, for me as an actor, what I was always seeking out. I just wanted female characters that I could relate to, and I can't relate to anybody that has it all figured out. So yeah, I guess the more I write, the more the less fear I have of kind of like cutting myself open and bleeding onto the page. It's just I'm more willing to do that. What about you?
What does the future hold? Oh goodness, I think I keep telling her she needs to direct, and I'm waiting to step aside so I could just produce for her. She needs to do it. Yeah, I mean, this is not a film. It's interesting. This is not the kind of thing I gravitate towards naturally. I love this movie, and I loved making it. And I think the reason I was right for it is I kind of take it from Morgan's perspective. She's this kind of outsider, you know, looking at this family that she wants to be a part of. And I feel like when I met Annika and I come from a small family, just me and my sister, and we're pretty far apart in age-wise. And so my parents were older when they had me. So it's very different. And I think when I got introduced to Annika's family, it was very overwhelming. But it was awesome. And I had to figure out how to find my way in there, and I think that really helped in finding the tone and the perspective of the movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did getting into Bentonville Film Festival mean to the two of you?
Oh, we tried with our first film, and we really love this film festival a lot. So I think it means a whole lot to us. The way just the community. We were just at this after party last night, and the community here is filmmakers just encouraging each other and welcoming each other and rooting for each other. It's pretty special.
I think that the film festival circuit is a tough one. Figuring out where do you belong, and I think Bentonville from afar I've always thought was kind of astounding because it's fairly new, and it's so hard to stand out as a fairly new film festival in a sea of I'm sure wonderful film festivals in wonderful locations, and it has such character. What Bentonville is, even if you've never been here, and I feel like I already knew what it was, and that's such an astounding success on their part that they managed to do that so quickly. So yeah, we feel really fortunate. I think obviously we're all trying to figure out what films look like when you make them more inclusive across the board, and so to be included in an inclusive festival feels like especially rewarding for us. It's very, very special.
Yeah, well said.
Well, for anyone that wants to follow the two of you or the film and the progress, what is the best way to do that? What are the socials you'd like to share?
Is it Adult
Children Movie.
Adult Children Movie on Instagram.
Yeah. Yes.
And you've gotten off of social media.
We had our first baby, and I went off social media, which was very good for my mental health, but very sad for moments like this.
The mental health comes first.
That's right.
And I think I'm just at Rich Newey, I think, for Instagram, and that's kind of the only thing I do, really.